Hey, just testing. Hey guys, if you are there, please just indicate if you can hear me. I know it's not your time, but some people are there, so I just want to be ready. Hi everyone. Good evening. Please, can you hear me? Just indicate, please. Okay, guys. I'm just trying to say that let's give some few minutes while the other people join. You can also get to them on Slack and notify them so we could start earlier. All right, guys. Good evening and welcome to everyone. Um, yeah, Let me just see you. Let me just see you react so I can be sure that you hear me, and then we can proceed from here. All right. Thank you very much. I think we are just going to proceed. Get to the other guys and remind them so they can catch us on time. Um, about the questions that you guys sent, there are really very few of them. I don't know if you guys were still to post your questions or that you don't have questions or what. Let me just remind you guys that our live session solely depends on the questions you ask. Now, I won't have a live session with you guys when you haven't posted any question, except that it is so necessary to show you guys something. All right, so you are really encouraged to ask questions because it is true questions that we are all able to learn. Okay, and no question is really dull, right? I don't remember that I said a question was dull. Uh, so I have just one main question here. The other ones are repetition. I'm still going to try to answer them, but answering repeated questions or repeating questions is it's not a good idea here because you can actually watch the previous sessions if you have questions relating to week one setup and other like. If you come to week two and start asking about how to set up, then you are trying to draw us back. So, guys, you are really encouraged to see how you ask your question appropriately in the weeks that it's necessary. Or if you have questions for the future, say week three, week four, you can ask them. But I'm not going to answer them in week two, right? So if you have a question for week two, you ask. If it's for week three, I'll keep them. Then when we have our live sessions for week three, I'll draw back to them and answer them. That is how our live sessions will actually flow. So I hope you guys actually understood me. So I am going to actually open the questions right now and just read through them. Then the one that we have to focus on them, we'll focus on it. And I'll throw light on the questions that you guys asked that are repeating, just so that somebody does not say this or question was not answered. I guess that's a good idea, right? Okay. The first question here is talking about XAMPP, and somebody is asking if they can use WAMP server. Yes, I did answer this the week before or the last live session. You are free to use the WAMP server if you think if that is going on your PC. Okay, so there is no restriction. And another person is saying that I am new. Uh, and how do I carry out the PHP task? Do I need to watch any videos on YouTube or can I browse for answers online? Okay, I guess this question, yeah, it's pertinent, right? So, you as students, you have the post section, okay? There is a post section where you have links to resources. Um, what has happened now is that the program has uploaded all the links, like all resources that are necessary for you to actually take the course through. They are already on the post section on the learning management system. So you need to access them, go through them, because they have actually been organized, like for week one, for week two, for week three, right up to the last week. So you don't necessarily need to go online and do some other things, but it's good if you go through the resources and you are not clarified, or you still have some doubts and maybe the mentor has not clarified you. Feel free to actually check it online. Like, yes, Google should be your friend. Like, that is how the learning process will really be successful. You should make Google your friend. Okay. So about the resources, yes, there are resources that are posted on the post section on the LMS that you can access and go through them. And all the questions or projects that are there that have been uploaded, they are online with the resources that have been provided for you guys. So I think it's actually there for you. All right. Yeah, that is the question. So I'm going to go to the other question, but the person who asked this question, if you are here, you can just indicate so I know that you got me. Okay. While I see how I can go to the next question. Somebody is asking if it is compulsory to install PHP if you have XAMPP. Um, yes, it is. It is compulsory. I want you guys to actually install PHP, because there are some times that your XAMPP might be misbehaving. Okay, so you should see how install PHP and XAMPP. It is compulsory for you guys, even though you will not be asked to submit PHP and XAMPP and so on, but install it. That will be useful. Sometimes you might need to execute PHP on your terminal. You will not want to go and open XAMPP or have to navigate to the XAMPP folder to open PHP executable. No, just install PHP. So it's in global. So it's global in your system, and then you have XAMPP for your server. So yeah, like I said, it's compulsory, guys. Do well to install all of them. Okay, so because this person is talking about because I installed XAMPP and everything was okay, except that when I tried to load up when uh, was my Hello World folder, it was completely empty, and I am sure I saved it. Does it have something to do with me installing PHP? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't think you installing PHP has any effect on your XAMPP folder. All right. So maybe you did not save it. You should check if you saved it, or maybe it was somewhere else. Just check. All right. All right. Please, there is something I want to recommend here. It is I'll come to your questions. If you have asked your question on the form, do not ask the question here again. All right. This is how it's going to go from now. Like, if somebody already has, if you have already asked a question on the form, I'll do well to answer just that. Now, I will not be taking questions from the chat section, because you guys are really proving to be stubborn. Ask your questions on the form. That is what we told you guys to do. So please do well to ask your questions on the form. All right. Today will just be a day of grace that I'm trying to go through the chat section to check the questions that have been asked. But please do well to ask your question on the form. All right. Yeah, about the person for global variable, I'm coming to that. I've actually feel that it will do it towards the end. Okay. So somebody is asking, please. All right. Yes, I noticed that for constants, it seems it wasn't uploaded well. So I'm going to check that, and I might just have some 5 minutes to show you guys that, because it's not actually a big thing. So about the constant thing, we'll start with that. So the last two questions, or the questions that I will treat before switching to my editor to answer some people's questions. Somebody is asking if they can start submitting their coming task. Yes, yeah. If you can submit your task for week 7 now, no problem, okay? But the thing is, don't expect to be graded now because that might cause some trouble at the moment. So just submit your task, whether it's week 3 or week 4. You are free to submit. If you can submit all your tasks today, do it. Okay. So you have not been restricted to submit just week 2 tasks or week 3 or week 4. You can submit any. Now you have to make sure you don't pass the deadline, because when week 2 passes and the deadline has passed, that means you can no longer submit week 2 task. You only have access to week 3, week 4, week 5. Okay. So if you see that you can submit all of your tasks at the same time, it's no problem still. Yeah. So I'm going to switch to Sugar's question about PHP variables. All right, the scope of variables. Yeah, I noticed this was a problem for some people, but I'm going to try to see how I can come in on that. So a few minutes, let me see how I can share my screen at the moment. Okay, so you should be seeing my editor right now. I'm going to try to explain the variables again, especially the scope of variables. So a few minutes, guys. Let me see. Um, so I think your problem was at the level of global and local variables. I think so, right? Just indicate on the chat section, or let me read through your chats again. Ask my question on form, but all surprised you're not seeing it. I couldn't see the week 2 form, so I asked question on week 1. It's okay. It's one form. It's one form. I have seen your question. I was going to come to your question at the end, and that is it that I'm trying to go through right now. Okay. So let me try to check on that. You talked about PHP form, PHP variables, the scope of variables. Now, simply before I even start doing anything on my editor, when you hear of scope, what actually comes to your mind? It's kind of like where these things should be recognized, right? So in programming terms, particularly, when we talk about the scope of a variable, we are trying to talk about the parts in your code where that variable is going to be understood. All right. So, and we made mention of three main scopes. You have the local scope, you have the global scope, and you have the static scope, right? Those are the three main scopes of variables in PHP. Now, I made mention of the fact that local variables or variables of local scope are mostly declared within functions, and because they are declared within function, they cannot be accessed out of a function. Now, I don't know, that is the same thing I said in the tutorial, and I was expecting that you are actually going to understand that, okay? We declare it within a function. Maybe it's because you've not treated functions, and yeah, you reached that, but I'm still going to do it again. So we have a function, which is a block of code dedicated to do a particular thing, and we declare our variable within that block. Now, when we declare a variable within that block, it's called a local variable, because when we go out of that block and we try to access that variable, we will not be able to. All right. Okay, so Let me show you that. Let me see if I can write code. Scope. Sorry guys, my network happened to have tweaked. That's bad. Okay, please just indicate if you can hear me again. Can you hear me, guys? Um, I was saying that my network happened to have tweaked, so I went offline. But I think I'm back. So just indicate if you can hear me, so we continue. All right. So while waiting for you, I'm just going to start my PHP script, and I'll try to declare a function. All right. So I'll try to declare a function with some global and local scope variable and so on, so that you just see what I'm talking about. So you might not understand what a function is at the moment, but I'm just going to use that to explain it because it's necessary. So I have a function to print something out, and within that function, uh, let me see. How does that? If I try to access it out of this function. So the function started here on line 3 and it ends on line 6. Okay. Anywhere like with this function keyword, this brace that I open here, this bracket that I open, once I have closed it here, that is where the block of code has ended. Anything out of this now will be out of the scope of this function. Okay, so this variable called name is accessed within here well, like we don't have any problem with it. Now, if we try to access it here, like echo name, we immediately were expected to, let me see, PHP scope.php. We immediately start encountering what? An error. And this error, this is what you are seeing here, an undefined variable, this on line 8. Why is that? Because this is out of scope, okay? This variable name was declared with a local scope to be understood only within this function. We tried accessing it out of this function, we will not be able. So that is the context of local variable. It is declared within a function and we can only access it within that function. Sugar, I don't know if, oh God, why is my screen misbehaving today? Uh, Sugar, please just indicate when you see my screen again. I'm sorry about that. Like, I thought I was actually sharing my screen, and out of a sudden, I can't see the screen. Okay, so I'm going to start that over because now I'm sure you see my screen, right? So I'm going to start that over, getting rid of this. So what I want to do is I want to declare a function, like I said, and to declare a function, I use function keyword and I'll give it a name. Print, and what this does is that it's going to take a variable called name. I'll set the name to Andrew, which is my name, and then I'll just print out this name. Okay, so that is it at the moment. We have this function here, and how do you call a function? I'll just call it out here to print out my name, right? So I'll call the function here. I'm sure you can see my screen. Okay, good. So now that I have this, let me clear my terminal and then run this script. If I run it with PHP scope.php, that is how you run a PHP script on terminal. You type PHP and then the name of the file that you want to execute. If I run that, you actually get to see that my name is printed on the terminal because this function is meant to execute is declared within a function and you cannot access it out of that function. Sugar, I don't know if this is clear before I go to, is it global variable? Just indicate, please, when it is clear. You feel free to let me know so I can go to the next. I'm sorry, I can't really explain why my screen stopped sharing. This is bad. Like, this is bad. But I don't know if you were able to get this. Okay, so that was it. That's it for is it local? Now, the aspect of global is similar to local variable in the sense that, sorry, it's not similar. I can use now the same context to explain global, that if I have a function now here or a variable here called age, and I set it to a certain age, this is not my age though. If I have that and I try to access this age here, so echo age, right? If I try to access the age here, I immediately start getting an error and they start telling me that no, age is not defined. Why is that? Because this one too is declared out of the function. I don't know now if you get the aspect of is it global variable. The global variable now, when we declare out of the scope of a function, we can always access it out of the scope. Okay, so we can, if we declare it out of a function, we will not be able to access it within a function. Now, the same thing is going to apply. There are some rules that you can use to actually access a global variable within a function. And you can use the global keyword to do that. I think so. Uh, Let me see. So you use the global keyword to access a variable that you define out of a function. Now, how do you do that? Let me just show you that. So hopefully you can still see my screen. Hope it's not tripping this time. So I have my screen here, and if I try now to use the global keyword here, let me see. I'll just try to get that. So if I come here and I use a global keyword, like global, then name, I can then be able to, sorry, global age. I declare this age out of this function and it makes it global. So if I want to access it within this function now, I can just use a global keyword in front of it. And once I use this keyword, it makes me to be able to access the variable that I declared out of the function. So that is how you use to actually get a global function, a global variable that is declared out of a function to be used within your function. So don't try to overcomplicate things. Global and local variable are quite opposite in the sense that within a local variable or with a local variable, you can only use it within a function and you cannot use it out of a function. But for a global variable, you can use it both out of a function and within a function. That is basically the explanation that I can give you for local and global variable. For static, I'm sure you guys got that because you just learn how to reuse a variable. Okay, so that is it. I don't know if somebody still has a question relating to that. Sugar, is it Sugar? I'm sorry, this is your name. Okay, I think you should be able to see my screen now. It was really tripping. I'm sorry about that. Probably Zoom is saying that I should not overshare screen for long. I don't know why. Please, you just indicate when you can hear me. Hello, guys. Can you hear me, please? All right. I think that is it. That was the main question that was on the form. I don't know if there is still another. Okay, for the aspect of constants, let me see if I can get that. Um, Basically, a constant is like a variable, except that once you have defined it, you cannot change its value, right? So you want something that you use throughout your code without changing it. You think of a constant, all right? That is what a constant is. So it's just like a variable, but it's unchanging. And a constant is basically an identifier for a simple value. For example, if you want your age, say you want to set your age which will not change for the whole of the year, you use a constant and say, okay, define that this my age is going to be 25 throughout my program, and it is not going to change. All right. Now, you should take note that when you talk about constant, a valid constant name will start with a letter or an underscore, just like a variable. So the rules that apply to variables also apply to constants. Okay, so constants are like variables, but they do not change. That is the only thing. Now, and you should know that when you are defining a constant, it is automatically global. That means once when you define a constant, uh, it can be used both in and out of a function. Okay, so please, I will come to your question. Let me just see how to finish what I'm talking about. And then let's talk about defining a function. To define a function, a constant, sorry, to define a constant in PHP, you just use the define keyword, and that define takes in some arguments, which you will see about them, right? So you're going to pass in the name of uh, the constant you are creating and its value, and then you state whether it should be case sensitive or not. I'm just going to show you that. Uh, I hope you are still seeing my screen. So I'm going to create another file called constant.php. And what I'm going to do here is, okay, this is a variable, right? Mm, this is a variable. Now, to some extent, I can print out this variable. Uh, let's see, let me just print it out. And print it out, and I can reassign the variable like name is equal to uh, sugar, for example. And if I print it out, let's see what this will give us. Guys, I hope you are still seeing my screen. I don't want to actually be okay. You are seeing my screen. So if I try to print these guys out right now, for example, let me just give a break here so you see the difference. So PHP constants.php, and you see that it prints the first one, which is Snr Andy, and then it prints sugar to tell you that, okay, we declared this name and we have changed it from line 7. That is definitely how variables behave. You can always reassign them. But take, for example, that you want something that will not change, right? That is where you talk about constants. Now, how will you do that? Let me just, how do I do this? Okay, so I'm going to come here and uh, define age and set it to, let me set it to something tangible, 25, right? Now I'll try to echo age, and then I will try to make as if I want to change age. Set it to 26. Do this. Echo age. Now, if I try to print out So I'm just going to send you guys this. Turns out my network really disturbs. My modem is tweaking, not my network. My modem keeps going off. Okay, so I'm going to send you this. Feel free to actually go through this document. It's in the description section of this tutorial or the videos for constants and variables. You can actually find this document there. Do well to actually go through them. I think that is it, guys. Except that there were other questions. Let me try to go through somebody's question right now, especially the one for saying htdocs and so on. Uh, Sugar, please. There is something. You say localhost.php says an error can you kindly start from the beginning of the file or C drive to send in a VS Code so I know where I got it wrong? Is it that you are not able to see htdocs folder? Okay, please just to let you know that you don't have to create an htdocs folder. You are not creating any folder called htdocs. There is already an existing folder called htdocs. So for example, let me just do something a bit. I'm going to try to open the folder structure, right? So if you notice now, I want to open a folder, and through this I'll be able to, you will not even be able to see the screen right now. So I am able to navigate from XAMPP. When I entered XAMPP, I will see another folder called htdocs. And when I open that, that is where I can start my projects. Like all my project will be inside htdocs. You are not creating a folder called htdocs. Please just try to take note of that. You are not creating a folder called htdocs. What you are trying to do is you want to put your work inside the folder called htdocs. I really hope you understand that. Because once this has been done, now if you see this folder that just opened right now, you have now the htdocs folder which already existed. You don't create this folder. When you install XAMPP, the XAMPP comes with this htdocs, and within this htdocs you have some other folders. Do not delete any, right? You can just go ahead and create your own folder. For example, learning PHP, for example. Oh, I already have a folder like that. I will rename it PHP Learning just to make sure we have something. This is Linux, so I'm having permission errors. But I already created one from my terminal. You see that I already created a folder called Learning, and within this folder, I can actually create another folder inside, for example, PHP, and then within this PHP, I can do my work like echo.php, which will just echo out something. Mm, and then echo. So I'm going to put this inside an H1. Okay. Now, how do you access this on your browser? That is where you might be having another problem, which I'm going to see if I should do anything about that. So if I open my browser, uh, you will not see my browser now. So let me try to switch again. Stop share and then share. Yeah, I'll share this screen. At least you can view my whole screen. So I'm going to localhost / now the name of the folder that you created inside htdocs, for example, it's called learning. If I actually open this, oh, there's an index file there. So you definitely open the index file. So learning, and then I'll go into PHP. So learning forward slash PHP, and you're actually going to be able to see now this is my PHP file. Note the folder structure. Inside that learning, there's another folder called PHP, and that is exactly what I did on my search bar here. Localhost forward slash learning forward slash PHP, and I can actually access my file now, and you see that it prints out what I did within that file. So, Sugar, just to let you know, you are not creating a new folder called htdocs, please. I hope that that is clear. Guys, I'm sorry that I tweaked for some time, but just indicate if you have actually gotten this one. I think we're almost at the end. Uh, for some reasons, I actually moved to somewhere that the network seems to have been tweaking. So pardon me for that. Just indicate if you actually heard me, guys. So I'll be waiting. So, guys, I am going to end the call here. If you had any other questions beside the ones that were answered today, please feel free to drop the questions on the form. Hopefully, our next class will not be breaking like this. That is certain. Uh, guess it was just the circumstances of today. So, I think I should say good night to you all. We are supposed to be ending now because we give 10 minutes for the next class to start. Good night, guys.